we are in your face. I'm your host, Jack Halstead, along with my two participants. To my right, Cooper Josephberg, and to my left, Eli Fishman. We'll be debating about two topics, the first of which is the All-Star rule, which at least one player has to be voted into the All-Star game for each team. Eli, what do you say about that?
I say that I completely agree with this rule. I mean, the All-Star game is played for fun, but I do think that home field advantage isn't really as big of a deal as it is made to be. I mean, like the Royals, people say that the only reason that they won it last year was because they got home field advantage because of the All-Star game. And I do not think that's true at all. This game is fun. It's a big event in baseball, and I think at least one player from every team should be part of this. Because what if one player is from a team that's in the World Series? You really never know.
Well, if you do one player from each team, then you can just erase the fact of home field advantage. I mean, home field advantage is really important. I think it's ridiculous that they have to have one player from each team. Some teams don't even have that one that really good player, and other teams just have like a whole lineup of them, and we could have like all of them.
But it's kind of the fans, because for the All-Star game, the fans are the ones who pick the players. So we don't want to have something like that happen last year when 8 of the 9 starters in the AL were Kansas City Royals. That was just chaos. So it wouldn't be fair like that unless someone like the Hall of Fame voters voted for the All-Star game, because fans would completely take over. And also, what's the point of having this event when there's nothing to play for? Guys like Robinson Cano are just going to go out with their hats backwards and fool around, but playing for the World Series home advantage makes it at least a decent amount of a deal for the players, which is why they even play.
Well, I don't really get what you're saying. What do you mean by that?
Well, which one?
What you just said.
Well, I mean that when the All-Star game voters, which are the fans, vote people into the All-Star game, it's usually if there was no rule that said at least one player from every team has to be represented, then there would be a decent amount of teams that don't have anyone in the All-Star game, because like last year, not 8 of the 9 people who were voted into the starting lineup were Kansas City Royals because of the Kansas City Royals fan base. We don't want that happening, and that's why the rule is there should be at least one player on each team.
Well, then maybe fans shouldn't vote either.
Well, that would be a whole different rule, and I think it puts the fans on the spot for this situation and this game, because this game is not as much for the players as it is for the fans. 60,000 people attend the Home Run Derby. Sometimes even more attend the All-Star game.
Wait, how is it not for the players when it determines home field advantage in the World Series, which is very important?
But the only thing important about that is the fans in the World Series. If you played at the same stadium, the difference wouldn't be the fans. It would just be the stadium. But in this instance, it's the fans, and they're the ones who vote the people into the All-Star game, which makes them the big surrounding topic, meaning that the rule should stay in effect, that at least one player from every team should be in the All-Star game, so the fans don't ruin it.
Alright, well, that's all we have for our first topic. Now let's get to our second and final topic about the World Series predictions. Who you got from the AL and the NL facing it off, Cooper?
I've got the Cubs facing the Orioles.
Why is that?
Well, because the Orioles, they're 51-36, playing in a very hard division. All the teams are within, all the top 4 teams are within 8 games. So, think about what they can do against other teams if they were not in this division.
I've got the Giants and the Rangers. So these are the two teams with the best, the two teams with the best winning percentages and most wins in Major League Baseball. Two teams who have skyrocketed this season. Both teams are at least 5 games ahead of the next opponent. I mean, the Giants have their amazing starting pitching staff, guys like Johnny Cueto and Madison Bumgarner, both guys who are talked about to start in the All-Star game. 2 outstanding pitchers who can lead this team to victory in the World Series. And the Texas Rangers, led by a lot of their younger players like Joey Gallo and Manny Mazzara, they're destined for greatness this season and in the future. So those are my 2 favorites for this World Series.
How about, why do you think the Cubs are going to be in it?
I think the Cubs are going to be in it because all of their young studs like Chris Bryant, Addison, Russell, Jake Arrieta, and all of those like young studs. I think like in the starting lineup, the whole Cubs like infield was like all Cubs. Like
I do agree that the Cubs do have a great young organization, but they can win World Series in the future. The Giants don't have as much of a younger team, kind of on the older side. I mean, Brandon Belt, Brandon Crawford, Buster Posey, that's the core of this lineup. And with Angel Pagan back from injury, he could have helped the Giants in the World Series run a lot last year with his extreme speed and one of the highest on-base percentages in the league. If this Giants team and manager Bruce Bochy can move runners over, get the hits, get the clutch pitching, I think they're going to be in the World Series. And I also think the Texas Rangers, because of their pitching staff and how coming into the season, nobody thought they would do anything. But in the past, they've been so dominant. In the postseason, not as much in the regular season.
So that's going to wrap it up for In Your Face. I'm your host, Jack Halshed, along with my 2 participants, Cooper Josephberg versus Eli Fishman. That's all going to do it, so good night, y'all.